As always, we're going to get into the news here for the first hour, and then we're going to have an awesome interview with two awesome friends from PeopleDAO, and that'll be at the top of the next hour. But we are going to get in the news momentarily here. I'm going to go ahead and ask real quick, Solar and GM to everybody, specifically Solar or Rohack, if you could just ping me in Discord, let me know that you can hear me clearly and that the sound is in good shape. I'm going to make sure the background music is paused. And of course, if there's anything catastrophically bad, please let me know. And we'll continue with this setup for the rest of the show. We do have a backup option as far as audio is concerned. If anybody here has tried to run a Twitter space, you might know that there's some finicky bits to it here. It's an awesome feature here. I'm going to say it every week, though. Twitter, please allow us to download the recording. Thank you. I know we can use third-party apps and stuff to do that, but it'd be cool if we could grab it after we're done. But if you're listening here, or if you're listening afterwards, if you're playing back the playing back the Twitter space recording, know that you can head over to YouTube as well. So the entire show today and every week, this is the third week we've hosted a space on Twitter. We migrated over from Discord as far as the broadcast is concerned, but we do have a live stream simultaneously going on YouTube. So over on YouTube, 1HTV, and you can see it. There's a little bit of latency there, so I would choose one option to listen and participate. But it will be on YouTube for easy playback anytime, and of course, we had some visual overlays there as well. So we had to try to add a little additional value there, as well as some nice playback, and we push highlights, try to push highlights, maybe one or two per week. Good number of folks here on the 1HTV team that are helping to make this happen. If you don't know, we're here every Monday with DAO News for an hour, and then a guest each Monday for an hour. Tuesdays bi-weekly, we have an evening show, Late Night with Billy Jitsu. That is, again, bi-weekly. It is happening tomorrow. And Billy is a gem because he is both a expert dev as well as communicator. And so he comes on and breaks things down, whether it's the latest hack, exploit, and just news generally from around crypto. So he's got great insights, and his show is bi-weekly on Tuesday evenings, 9:30 Eastern. So again, that's every other Tuesday, 9:30 Eastern. You can get another dose of news. The difference between today's show and Billy's show bi-weekly is, of course, we are here every week, and we typically cover more in the weeds DAO governance topics. Better than most. And I learn a lot by listening. I do co-host with him, but he is certainly the main attraction there every other Tuesday evening. And bi-weekly on Thursdays, we also have a third show that 1HTV runs via the One Hive DAO. We're a sub DAO, and the Thursday show is a Spanish language program. Miguel Bayon, you can check him out, Sea of Hertz. He recently started this Twitter page, but Sea of Hertz is a music label, and Miguel is an audio engineer and music producer. And every other Thursday, he has a Spanish language program. He and Rohek, who's also helped make today's show possible and is the man, Rohek and Miguel, they have a show bi-weekly, and it's, again, all Spanish language, interview with great guests from around the Web3 space. And then the second hour or more sometimes is indie musicians from Mexico specifically, but I believe larger Latin America. And Miguel is, of course, the producer of much of that music. Some weeks, the audience is actually treated to a live performance. So definitely check out Miguel's show as well. Give him a follow at Sea of Hertz. They just started that YouTube channel, that Twitter channel, page, profile, whatever you want to call it. Also head over to 1HTV on YouTube. We got a small channel going there. We stream all of our content. You can check it all out retroactively, organized into playlists there according to show. So I just wanted to give a quick overview there. GM again to everybody who's joining us this Monday morning. We're getting to the news in just a second. I want to give a quick overview of One Hive for people who might be new today. If you head over to onehive.org, give us a follow, onehive.org here on Twitter. Website is also located on the Twitter bio. And you'll see that it is really sort of a multifaceted DAO. It's been around for a couple of years now. In fact, One Hive is probably one of the older DAOs in this space, and it has been a laboratory for experimentation ever since its launch. So I would definitely encourage people to check out the website. What we're doing here is just one of the many things that One Hive does. This is the communication end of things, but they have an amazing developer core there, and they've actually built a governance front end that a number of DAOs use, including One Hive. So I do want to touch briefly as we sort of transition into the news this week with a story from One Hive specifically. And if you're looking on YouTube, I'm going to head over to the governance front end right now that we use, and this is called Gardens. It's simply a subdomain of onehive.org. So gardens.onehive.org. And if you haven't been here before, I strongly suggest you explore it. There are a number of awesome DAO communities that run their governance on Gardens. So if you're watching on YouTube, again, you can see a few of them here. We have One Hive, we have Giveth.io, we have BrightID, which has built an excellent civil resistance tool, token engineering commons, etc. So you can explore here. Circles DAO, they're part of the Gnosis DAO ecosystem. One Hive has a proposal, and without getting into the details of the protocol, has a proposal that was challenged recently. And what that means is that it was elevated to a protocol known as Celeste. And Celeste is CELESTE, another subdomain of One Hive. And it is a subjective oracle. It is a conflict resolution, a on-chain conflict resolution mechanism. And essentially, if a proposal is elevated to this protocol, it will be resolved through impaneling specific jurors to vote on the issue that has been raised as a dispute. Again, I don't want to spend too much time on this today, but this is exciting, at least specifically for people in and around One Hive. This is a product that we built, and this is an opportunity where we're sort of dogfooding the protocol and the code here to protect the community treasury. If you're more interested, or if you're interested in learning more rather about Celeste or about One Hive in general, head over to onehive.org. The last thing I'll say here about Celeste is that it enables the Gardens to function as an on-chain governance protocol, right? Meaning One Hive and these other DAOs that you see on Gardens, they do not have a multi-sig in control of their community treasury. Okay, so it differs in that way from Snapshot. When the vote is complete, the funds, if it is a funding proposal, are dispersed on chain. So in order to protect that treasury, we do have Celeste as the backstop. If you're interested in learning more about this, head over to onehive.org, hop into the Discord. There is a channel about both Gardens and Celeste. If you're interested, again, in learning more, perhaps building with them, head over to the Discord there. We have a lot of experience using Gardens, and as I said, Celeste has been invoked for the first time recently, and so the community is getting a chance to use the tools that it's built to improve them in the process, and then hopefully to offer them up as a public good for others to use them if they wish to as well. All right, so again, GM everybody for joining us today. I haven't heard any voices of concern in Discord, so I'm going to assume that my voice is coming through okay, and we're trucking along here. I'm going to go ahead and see. I think, okay, Pow Crypto Trader is requested to speak here. What I'm going to ask you for, if you would, my man, is just hang tight for a second here. I want to get through a portion of the news, and we'll sort of take some questions and any questions you might have or comments after we get through the news portion here. So I encourage people to engage on this. If you would like to speak and you're here in this space, just ping me with a request to speak. And when we're done with the news there, we'll pull people up here and we'll see if we can have a conversation before we start the interview portion of today's show. So on YouTube, again, I want to remind people we're going to be having a nice overlay for you to take a look at with the stories that we're talking about in the news today. So head over to 1HTV on YouTube. Let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to start with Aave. So there's two stories from Aave I want to talk about today. These are both live on their snapshot. And the first has to do with temporarily pausing Ethereum borrowing. So the simple summary here, to pause ETH borrowing during a period leading up to the merge. And the proposal also transfers a one-time payment of 60 Aave from the Aave treasury to the MakerDAO treasury to pause proxy in connection to the proposal. So essentially, this is, again, somewhat unprecedented, I suppose, in that you're pausing a key functionality of one of the major or the major borrowing and lending platform out of obviously abundance of caution leading up to the merge here. So if you're a user, right, somebody who is an active user of Aave, if you planned on maybe borrowing some ETH now that it's dipped, I don't know. I just thought this is something important to mention. It is going to be on the snap. Actually, it hasn't started yet. It starts tomorrow, so we're a little ahead of the game here, but it's only going to be up for a vote for a short window of time. And so I'm not sure that the time frame that this will be paused, but it says it's targeting the second. So the idea is Aave may be pausing ETH borrowing in the lead up to the merge. I'm not going to wade into merge related topics on the show today. This is one of those things where I'm watching and trying to learn as things progress, but I'm not a technician, and this is something that is incredibly complex. So I'm an optimist as well, though, so I believe that this will all work out well, but obviously something to be watching closely as the date approaches. If anybody has any thoughts about the merge itself, any comments about that, concerns, maybe questions related to Aave, DAO, the pending DAO decision here, feel free to comment or request a chance to speak here. We'll take a break in the news in just a couple minutes. The other story out of Aave I think is worth looking at here is a request for retroactive funding for its V3. So the summary here, essentially, the V3, the protocol has launched, and the snapshot is seeking approval from the DAO to provide retroactive funding for the development and deployment of the V3. So you can check out the details here. We covered the launch of V3 several months ago, and right now the proposition is that Aave DAO retribute 15 million in accrued work and almost 3 to the Aave companies. So this is obviously a significant chunk of change coming from the DAO here, and you can check out the forum in greater detail. This is set to conclude, well, it went live today and set to conclude on the 1st. Right now, it's somewhat contested. Almost 40% of Aave is abstaining. So I'm not, actually, I should change my words. It's not contested, but there is a significant chunk of abstention. There is no direct opposition. I imagine if it's made it to the snap, this is something that will pass or come close to it. But we'll definitely take a look and check in on these two stories next week after the snapshot has concluded. So again, retroactive funding, just a note about this because it actually intersects with the bit that I was sharing about OneHive earlier. For those of you who may not be familiar with retroactive funding, this is a mechanism in crypto that is quite common, or at least it's widely used. In this case, it would mean that the development and deployment work was done by humans working for the Aave company, and then they're seeking compensation or additional compensation after the fact. So this it enables this world to exist where people can really just show initiative if they know a thing has value and needs to be done. And it serves as a mechanism to compensate them retroactively rather than scoping it and asking for the money ahead of time. This is, I don't think it's terribly unique to crypto, but it's something that we see and is something that connects to OneHive. So the proposal that was blocked by Celeste in the OneHive ecosystem was also seeking retroactive funding, for several sub-DAOs and projects that had been working and providing value to the OneHive community and ecosystem, and it was blocked largely due to the quantity of funding that was being requested. So it's retroactive funding is an interesting tool. It's an imperfect tool. It's not really something that every person around the world can take advantage of in the same ways as if you were getting paid, along the way. So something to keep in mind here. If you're either a DAO operator, you're thinking about starting a DAO, or you're a token holder for one of the DAOs we're talking about, retroactive payment is no different than compensation for other duties, particularly if the retroactive payments are being issued in the token of that DAO. Then they are a source of emissions, right? So they're a source of the token supply will increase the same way as it would for a regular compensation. But some people feel differently about this. Again, any thoughts about retroactive funding? Feel free to leave a comment as well down below. So in Twitter, if you're here joining us on the space, feel free to leave a comment or a question below the tweet that notified you that this space is going to happen, and I'll check and keep an eye on those as well. And GM to everybody, if you're tuning in on YouTube as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and transition here. Talk a little bit about another blue chip in DeFi. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the Missouri governor come up on screen here, and we're big fans of this tool. I think it has, you can access all kinds of incredible market data, but the governor specifically DAO governance data and information. And so Missouri.io, if you're not familiar with Missouri, definitely check them out if you've heard of them for their market insights on trading and the like. I think it's also they have features that are also really useful for tracking DAO activity. In this case, we're looking at Bancor. And you can see it in the title here, support for a proof of stake chain. This proposal aims to formalize Bancor's commitment to the Ethereum POS chain following the merge on September 15th. So check it out in greater detail on the forum if you wish. It's pretty self-explanatory. I wanted to touch on this because there are several protocols that are doing this, right? Basically, if you have, say, a DeFi tool or protocol that is governed by a DAO and it's got a lot of TVL, I think there is a push to create a united front where all of these DAO communities pledge to, support lend essentially their consensus to the proof of stake chain after the merge. The reason being is that if you're not aware, there are discussions among different mining pools and the like to fork the chain. So let's put it this way, I guess I'd be shocked if the merge comes and there's no drama, right, over forking it and maintaining a POW chain, or accepting the new proof of stake chain. Like, there will be some drama around that. I imagine it will be somewhat minimal, but time will tell. I feel like to this specific story, the more of these DAO communities that publicly pledge their support, rather than assuming what token holders want, getting on the record and pledging support for the POS chain, I think will help to make this transition more smooth, right? Obviously, what makes Ethereum great in many ways and makes it, this sort of exceptional chain and ecosystem is that you have all of these huge projects and brain power building on it. So if that continues through direct signaling by these individual communities ahead of time, it seems all to the good. So just wanted to touch on that quickly. Bancor, discussing this on their forum, and I think it's something you'll probably see elsewhere across the space, which is obviously a good thing. We got that date, September 15th. I tend to ignore software launch dates. However, they tend to be tough to fulfill, and not because of developer issues, because that's just software. Cool. Let's go ahead and transition to let's look at Balancer for a second. This is conversation again related to DAO governance. We've noticed, we meaning Edu and I, over the last couple months, specifically here in the bear market, having to do with tweaking governance parameters. So in some ways, this is what we nerd out on, right, each week for an hour on Monday morning, which is, we kind of see our role in providing this overview of what different DAOs are doing, right? So if you tune in every Monday, it's like an hour from 30,000 feet touching on various different DAOs and trying to identify trends, like what's happening, not necessarily, well, never as financial advice per se, but definitely as trying to keep a pulse on what different big DAOs are thinking and where they're moving towards. And on the governance side of things, tweaking their, well, their decision-making uh, parameters is something we see a lot of, right? In gardens, this can be done on chain, and it needs to be really carefully calibrated in detail because it's a little bit different than Snapshot in that way. But if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the summary here on Mizari. Balancer DAO is aiming to increase their Snapshot quorum. Now, if you click on forum discussion, right? So if you start in Mizari, up in the upper right-hand corner, they'll have links to either the forum if it's just in the community discussion, they'll have a link to the snapshot if it's under a vote. But you come over here, you'll see the thread that's on the Balancer forum really aiming to foster this discussion. Now, the OP doesn't put any numbers up, but for reference, the status quo is 200,000 BAL. Okay, so for a proposal to pass the Balancer DAO, it's got to have at least 200 tokens participating, right? This thread has different numbers contributed as ideas, but we're seeing 500,000 to 1 million. So there seems to be some support. We're not just a small tweak. You're going to potentially either 2 to 5x the difficulty in passing a proposal through Balancer DAO. So, you know, to a certain extent, I guess you could argue this is from price action, right? It's like not as, you know, if Balancer token isn't worth as much as it was 6 months ago, then there's some quorum tweaking that's necessary, perhaps there. But again, this is just a part of a larger picture, I think, of DAOs really carefully considering what are the thresholds that they want to see to critical decision making. So if you're an active member of the Balancer DAO, perhaps you're already aware of this. If you're a Balancer, if you're a BAL token holder, it's likely that governance activity on Balancer will become a little more difficult to conduct, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But keep an eye on Balancer there. They seem to be wanting to ratchet up the difficulty of passing proposals. Okay, before we actually venture over there, we have another sort of roughly DeFi, well, a definite DeFi and a bridge project partnership to talk a bit about here. I want to hop over to Hop Protocol. Folks, if you're familiar with Hop Protocol, this is one of the leading, if not the leading, bridging solution in Web3 right now. There are a number of them, and of course, we're big fans of Connext. We go sort of Connext goes back a ways with OneHive actually, over a year. You know, Connext I think was, if it wasn't the first bridge, it was one of the first. And OneHive partnered to create the first V1 UI, and the bridge was originally from, at that time it was XDAI, which is now Gnosis chain, bridging to Polygon. And so we have connectivity with Connext. We love the people over there, Arjun and the team. Hop DAO, Hop Protocol is also an awesome bridge. Their technology is a bit different than Connext. I'm not going to venture into the details there, A, because I am not a technician, and B, because it's probably a little beyond the scope of the conversation. Hop, there's an argument to be made that the Hop protocols is more decentralized because it uses a model similar to an AMM to conduct cross-chain swaps. So I just want to touch a little bit on this. Maybe some of you got Hop airdrop, I don't know, but they did launch their token earlier this year. And this would be hop.exchange. So if you're trying to go out and experiment and use that bridge, hop.exchange is a good way to get started. Connect your wallet there and check them out. They, as I said, they did launch their token, I think about 2 months ago, maybe. So that is also means the launch of their DAO. And so we've been keeping track of what they're up to. And this is an interesting story I thought I'd share. Again, we have the Mizari front end up on the YouTube channel 1HTV. They are discussing the use of a delegate incentivization trial. So what does this mean at a high level? The Hop DAO has a delegate voting model. So token delegation is a thing for HOP protocol, and they are looking to incentivize these delegates to participate, well, to bootstrap the delegate program and to encourage delegates to participate in governance. So the math here is actually easy to reach on the forum. And so you can check this out. It does scale, I guess, at a high level, the larger the token holder. So the larger the delegate, so to speak, the more incentivization that they will receive. So it's not like a flat program. But this obviously will require an allocation of HOP tokens. The discussion is active on the forum. I'm sure that there are other DAOs that are experimenting with this, but I haven't seen any specifically or recently. I see a lot of delegated voting models, but not necessarily an attached incentivization program for those delegates. So HOP protocol, working on this, innovating a bit here. And if you're one of those folks that's into the math side of things here, this is a really cool protocol to get involved with, and probably an interesting conversation to get involved with as well if you're particularly interested in the governance side of things. Another story from HOP protocol I wanted to share with everybody today, get it up on screen here on YouTube, is this fast bridging support for SNX and SUSD. So I think in effect, this is a partnership between HOP protocol and Synthetics. So reading the summary here for those of you who aren't able to view on YouTube, the proposal aims to allow fast bridging support for SNX and SUSD, which is the stablecoin from Synthetics. They want to support bridging to and from Optimism and the L1. So the Synthetics Treasury Council is committed to seeding bonders' liquidity and offering OP incentives to SNX, HSNX, and SUSD. HSUSD, which is the HOP stable. LP is on Optimism to facilitate the process. Possibility of HOP protocol considering matching Synthetics with HOP co-incentives. Okay, so basically, this is something it seems that Synthetics is already involved in helping to incentivize. So just, for those of you who don't know, Synthetics, my understanding, I'm not that OG, okay, and if there are people who can correct me, but my understanding is that the Synthetics big brains basically invented yield farming, where they were like, the first to really push that in early 2020. So obviously Synthetics is an OG project, not one that I'd see like making the news all the time, but they have a lot of activity on their governance side of things, and you can see this through Mizari pretty easily. So they got a core team. I know that has turned over, right? You don't have the exact same leadership as when the project launched, but they have a dedicated core team, and they're obviously their HOP is, so this is a partnership between HOP protocol and Synthetics to bridge between Optimism and L1, and create these liquidity pools of both SUSD, the stablecoin, and SNX. Something here, I think, again, if you're a user on the HOP protocol, you might want to take a look at. And there is obviously, I think Synthetics was one of the first projects to decide to launch on Optimism. Like, they were live on Optimism long before the OP token dropped. So obviously they're going to be a mover and shaker on that L2, and by extension, I think HOP protocol is probably going to become an increasingly important tool to go to and from Optimism. I want to touch, while we're on the topic of Optimism, I do want to touch briefly on a related story. We've been looking at watching the Optimism governance forum and their snapshot over the last couple months, really since the token drop. Edu and I have been tracking it to see, who is applying for OP grants and who ultimately earns them. And there's these different waves of funding requests that have come in, and I wanted to share a new one with all of you today. This is, of course, I'm partial to this because this is the type of non-technical work that I think is really important to grow our industry. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the Optimism Collective. There is a funding request for Bankless Academy. So for those of you who may not be familiar, Bankless Academy obviously spawned from Bankless DAO. Definitely worth taking a look at this forum post. I have it up on 1HTV on YouTube right now. The Bankless Academy has a DApp. It's a learning DApp, and this is, I will paste a link to it beneath or in the conversation, the comment section of our space today. Definitely worth taking a look at. They have these really great learning modules that are intro to a whole host of categories. You have wallet basics, intro to DeFi, blockchain basics, the Academy community, Web3 security. So it's kind of the building blocks of building blocks of decentralized learning, I guess, or functioning in the Web3 space. Okay, so Bankless Academy is applying for an OP grant to continue their work, obviously, and to probably promote Optimism specifically, or at least embed some content that helps people orient in and around the Optimism ecosystem. So this is something, if you have OP tokens, I'll be voting in favor of this this proposal, and I would encourage other people to do the same. So again, that's Bankless Academy. It's in a phase 1 right now, so it's just beginning its life on the OP forum. But I just zooming out for a second, I just want to reiterate how nice it is, in my opinion, to get an airdrop, right? Like Optimism, and really see an incredible number of opportunities to participate right out of the gates. There's been so much activity around the Optimism forum, and obviously a lot of that is vying for for a share of the token rewards and grants. But if you are an OP holder, I would really encourage you to participate in their snapshot and follow us every Monday. We typically touch a bit on something that's happening around Optimism each week. And if you need an extra boost there probably will be a second round airdrop at some point in time. So given all the activity there, I would encourage people again to really participate, hop in the Optimism ecosystem. All right, so building out actually over across one more story related to Bankless. Pulling it up on YouTube in a moment here. This is Bankless. It's a post on the Bankless forum, the Bankless DAO forum, with regards to their Gitcoin grant proposal. And this does bridge directly from the Academy. The Academy is discussed in this post. But the reason I'm sharing this with all of you is that I think people, if you're interested in Bankless, or if you're interested in getting involved in Bankless, but maybe you're not an active participant in their forum or their Discord, but say you're interested in public goods, okay, in general, I think this is a great opportunity to get involved. They're really talking about 3 initiatives in particular. One is Bankless Academy, the other is Bankless Africa, and the third is International Media Nodes. And all 3 of these are linked up through the forum post. Let me actually drop this below the Twitter space as well, if people want to take a look at the forum post. These 3 projects, sub-DAOs, initiatives, I don't know what you want to call them, that have grown out of the Bankless community will be up on the GR15, and I think eligible for your donation. So I'm not going to get into these projects now. We don't have sort of time to explore them all in detail. Perhaps we can get somebody on from Bankless to help us chat these up in advance of GR15. But I did drop the forum post right below the space here on Twitter. Definitely click in there and see if you're interested in supporting these. Again, Bankless Academy, we discussed, Bankless Africa, and international media nodes. This is sort of a theme you'll probably notice as we're going through the show today, in part because of the guests that we have coming up at the top of the hour. But there are a lot of high energy people in the Web3 space that have mad translation skills and or are in need of mad translations. I'm really excited, I guess, to say that you have these different initiatives to help make Web3 accessible to people around the world. And so, yeah, if that's your thing, here's an opportunity to support a project, International Media Nodes. Of course, we also have Language DAO that we're going to be discussing later. That's an outgrowth of PeopleDAO. And so, yeah, check it out. Forum post below here, right on Twitter. Let me actually cross-post it to YouTube just in case, folks. Give me a second. Apologize if I'm not getting back to everybody immediately today. I'm running double duty. But as we said, Edo is much deserved vacation at the moment. He'll be back with us next week. We got about 20 minutes till the top of the hour. A couple more stories to cover here. I appreciate everybody joining us, GM. And don't forget, we'll be inviting two guests on at the top of the hour to chat about PeopleDAO. So stick around for that. Okay, let's go ahead and transition. Let's see here. 2, 3 more stories. I want to talk a little bit about, well, I'll drop this up here really quick. So if you're a Friends with Benefits fan or community member, they do have their season 7 ops budget that is up for discussion. Actually, excuse me, up for a vote. Let's see when it ends here. This is going to be going for the duration of this week. So if you are somebody who's an active participant in FWB, something you probably want to chime in on here. We're looking at $250,000, almost 300K in budget requests through the end of the year. So Friends with Benefits looking to fund their operation core there. Something to, again, check out if you're a token holder or a community member. Oh, this is another one that we got. Okay, so Edo wanted to share this, and I'll pull it up here. We're going to, again, sort of branch from Missouri right now. Lynx DAO. Folks might remember this. I forget when they had their token mint. It was earlier this year or late last year. I forget. I remember having lengthy discussions about Lynx DAO with Lindsay Winder from Hedgie Finance at ETH Denver. Yeah, so if you're a golfer, this is the DAO for you. There was this, some people felt as though well, you know what, I'm going to walk this back. This is an interesting DAO, kind of like City DAO, kind of like a lot of other DAOs now, which is, hey, let's launch this enthusiast club, right? And we're going to have a DAO, and we're going to have a pre-mint, we're going to use NFTs. But then there's always the question about how that intersects with the real world. Okay, like a DAO can't own a golf course, basically, right? Like, I mean, you have to create an in-the-flesh legal entity to do all the golf coursing things. And so, yeah, it's been a really interesting evolution. I haven't, followed this every single week. We haven't actually talked about links in over a month probably, but they have two really great forum discussions going on that I wanted to share with you. So the first is this ranking of golf course attributes. Okay, so like I'm not a huge golfer. If there's anybody in this space that loves golf and hasn't heard of Lynx DAO, you should definitely check it out. The TLDR is Lynx DAO is a DAO that is, I think it's aiming to become the first decentralized organization to own and run a golf course. And so the summary here at the top is we get closer to the evaluation of golf courses and closer to purchasing Lynx DAO's first course. We want to make sure that we're optimizing for the things that our community values the most. So in a sense, this kind of puts everything in a nutshell, which is, and if I'm wrong, please correct me. Like I always want to know what's actually happening. And so I want to speak too far out of turn, but what I think is occurring here is Lynx DAO really has a core, core team that works with or out of the LLC that is, going to procure a golf course. And so community members are really, at this point, their avenue for input is really on, I think, things like this, which is choosing the types of parameters they want to see on the ideal course. So they got a whole bunch of different parameters here. They want to get your input on architecture, on the uniqueness of the course, the climate, the how walkable it is, whether it's near an international airport. So they're obviously targeting a purchase of some kind in the future. So they're currently taking feedback from the community on the types of attributes they'd like to see. I'm really curious just to follow this and see how it all shakes out because, if I'm thinking this through in a general level, it's like, okay, if you ask people what kind of golf course they want, they're going to go ahead and describe Pebble Beach to you. So like not intentionally, but like if I'm going through all these things, it's going to be it's going to be quite a course, right? So I'll be very interested to see how how the preferences of the community actually intersects with the eventual purchase of a golf course. So that's happening. And also simultaneously, there is another conversation going on within Links DAO that I thought was interesting and cool. And this has to do with working capital for the pro shop. Okay, so again, I don't think from the previous proposal, they don't have a physical course, but they're thinking ahead now to propose a working budget of 200,000 for the treasury to use as working capital for the pro shop, purchasing inventory, warehousing. We currently have drop shipping arrangements with our vendors, but moving to a centralized supply chain model will create multiple benefits for the DAO, et cetera, et cetera. So there are a couple different contributors that are working on this. So again, if you're in the Links DAO, no. If you're interested in sharing more about this, or you have connectivity, we get somebody on the show. I'd love to hear, the latest from the DAO. I thought these two jump out. Like if you're like me and you're scrolling Missouri Governor because you're a fucking dork like I am, then like seeing these proposal titles sort of jump off the page. I thought they're entertaining, interesting. I'm definitely gonna be following this to see how this all shakes out. One of my sort of most intense interests is seeing how projects like Links DAO, make this work and find creative ways of making things like this work. I think 2 to 3 years down the road, it'll be really interesting to see where we're at. I'm sure there's a lot of people who, FOMO the mint on Links DAO for speculative reasons, and that's totally cool, but they live in a part of the world where they may not ever even be able to play on the course. So there's a lot of interesting dynamics here. Again, Links DAO, worth checking out here. And as always, the Missouri Governor is a good place to see all DAO activity. So let us see. Edu has added a few more here, but you know what? I'm going to pull up. He's better on some of these more technical proposals, and so I'm not going to venture down that road today. But let me see. All right, well, I'm going to give a quick plug here for something related, and then I'm going to hit the pause button. We'll put on some tunes for a couple minutes, and then at the top of the hour, we're going to welcome on two guests to talk about PeopleDAO. They got a lot of awesome stuff going on. They're incubating a number of spectacular sub-DAOs, and so we want to hear all about those things from them. Again, I'm going to go ahead and give a quick plug here. Gnosis Chain, I see many of the people here on the call, friends from around the Gnosis chain. We're going to be launching a new communications initiative with the good folks that contribute on the social media side. So that I'm not going to name their avatars just in case they don't want to be named, but the good people at Gnosis Chain running their social media, doing a fantastic job. I'm going to be fortunate enough to join them in the next couple of weeks. We're doing a bi-weekly show that's going to focus on all the cool stuff, specifically the cool stuff that's happening in and around Gnosis Chain and Gnosis DAO. So definitely give Gnosis Chain a follow. Follow Gnosis down here on Twitter if you haven't already. The newsletter for Gnosis Chain comes out every Friday. Of course, One Hive has been in and around the Gnosis Chain ecosystem since the beginning. We're big fans, and we're not going anywhere. So always want to promote the ecosystem itself. They got a great newsletter you said came out last Friday. Another one will come out this coming Friday. You get the latest in their Substack. So definitely check out Gnosis Chain and keep an eye on their Twitter. There's going to be a new live program that's going to be going for the next couple weeks. And I wanted to also share, I get a lot of people, there might be some people here in the space right now that played trivia with us last year. This was mostly in November or December of last year. And then I had to sort of lift and shift to focus on some other things, but got a lot of requests to bring this back. So if there is a desire to do live crypto trivia, as we did, if people who played those games before, those who were not, we use like a live trivia tool and a screen share, and we had like upwards of 200 people playing these games live, and we just do it's just live trivia where there are multiple choice answers. People get to buzz in using their phone and win crypto. So if anybody's interested in this, if you have ideas about projects that you'd like to do trivia about, okay, don't hesitate to DM me. And I'm T Wells, by the way. I'm speaking for the One Hive org Twitter space here, but I think my account should be logged into the call. Hit me with a DM if you'd like to contribute in some way to making a trivia show happen. Okay, this is something it was a lot of fun. I'd love to kickstart it again, but I can't lift it myself right now. So this is where I'm saying, people interested in doing something along those lines, I think we get some cool synergy with One Hive, Gnosis chain, and build out from there. So we have a little less than 10 minutes till the top of the hour. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We have a great guest coming on at the top of the hour here from PeopleDAO. So I'm going to mute myself here, and I'm going to offer up what I do each week. If somebody's got a tune that they'd like to hear, I can play music, any music that you'd like to hear. So I give it like 30 seconds, and if I don't hear from anybody, then I'm going to go ahead and just do DJ's choice and play a song that I'd like to hear. So GM, everybody, drop a song if you'd like to hear one. If not, we'll play a bit of music here, and at the top of the hour, we'll get Matter and OXAA on. GM, everybody.
Interesting. Was one of those people who sort of, looked up how to buy a miner, but just never followed through. Flash forward many years later, followed Ethereum and began to get into DeFi, but was really a passive participant. I watched a lot of Bankless and, messed around on DeFi myself, but I guess wasn't active from the standpoint of, contributing to building, contributing to DAOs. And it wasn't until Constitution DAO where I actually began to just got really energized by that whole effort, which, to review, was this fundraising effort to buy a private copy of the U.S. Constitution. Happened in November of last year, and although the effort raised a ton of money, like upwards of 45 million, we actually lost the auction. And so there was all this energy around the project that had nowhere to go because we never got the Constitution. And so in the middle of that, I attended a Twitter Spaces way back when with AA. So the first, I guess you could say, PeopleDAO Twitter Spaces, sort of proto PeopleDAO. And I remember it was bilingual, so it was partially in Chinese, partially in English, and it was just so engaging to be talking about stuff that I've been passionate about for a while, sort of myself in my own way, with people, talking with people across the world. And so I'm actually in government and city government in the US. And so my background is sort of like public policy. And I would say it's been the fusion of the energy around PeopleDAO, the intercultural aspect, and the real interest that we have in public goods and sort of and governance and democracy that has sort of kept me here and turned me into someone who is pretty active with PeopleDAO. So that's my origin story. Yeah.
Cool. I'd love to draw you out just a little bit more quickly on the sort of intercultural component for people who may not be aware. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, as I said, from day one in PeopleDAO, it was mostly an English as well as a Chinese community. And so like I said, our meetings were bilingual, so they were translated back and forth. I think that there's been some really funny sort of, when two cultures meet, it can be very funny, meaning that one side doesn't really understand the other side. So I remember a translator to translate Chinese texts, and there are all these terms that don't translate to English sort of intuitively. So words like, or cutting the meat, or scientists, they don't mean the same thing in English that they do in Chinese. So like just brief example, scientist is sort of like someone who is very, like a developer, very fluent in sort of the technical side. And a leak is somebody who sort of provides exit liquidity to a big whale and is sort of dumped on by somebody else. But anyway, I guess my point is that this is just an example of what happens when two cultures meet. Yeah, I think it's been fun and also productive to the standpoint of just seeing the perspective of folks from totally on the other side of the world. Where I am, I'm 12 hours behind AA, so it's like literally kind of from a time standpoint, like the other side of the world. But yeah, I don't know if you want to say anything more. I'm sure AA has also other stuff to say too about the intercultural part.
I'd love to hear it. OX, what's your story, man?
Yeah, hi, hello. I'm 0xAA. I'm from China. Now I'm a PhD student in neuroscience, and I entered the crypto world like 2016 when my uncle started to mine Ethereum. So I got some Ethereum, and then there is a bear market, and when the COVID come, the bull market started again. So I spend more time in it. So basically doing research and trading, and boom, like basically a year before, when Constitution DAO start to raising funds for like Matter said they want to go to an auction with a like a rare copy of Constitution. I think, well, that's really interesting. Let's buy that Constitution. So I donated some of my ETH to it, and started to meet people there. It's a very refined community. A lot of people, some are from the crypto world, like the Web3, and some are from the Web2. A lot of people are from Web2. They just want to buy this Constitution, to give some money and get engagement. So a lot of love in that communities, and yeah. So I feel it's quite different. And at I think when the auction happens, there was a Twitter space, so everybody was watching the live stream about the auction, and actually we don't know which side wins. So so we went to the Twitter space, and we just discussing what we will do with that Constitution. We thought we are the winner, but then some like Sotheby's guy came and said we lost the auction. So we just then we started to plan what we gonna do next, and I just felt the Constitution now really like democratize the crypto, so that's really let more people from like from Web2 into this new world. So I really love it. And after the original team departed, and I and Matter and a lot of like the Constitution DAO fine started a new DAO called PeopleDAO. We want to bring this hype, keep this hype, yeah. And a lot of like intercultural stuff, because I'm from China, Matter is from US, and a lot of people from Europe and Vietnam, and a lot from Africa, Thailand. So yeah, we just know more people in the Web3. So we just love this community, and we just want to develop this app. Yeah.
It sounds like you guys have a truly distributed community around the world, and these things obviously are both a huge strength and a challenge. I'd be curious to hear you guys speak a little bit more to this in terms of the benefits that you see from having such a broad participatory base in your community, and what are some of the things that tie people together? Like, why are they all contributing or in and around PeopleDAO? What brings them to the table?
Yeah, I'll start with maybe some challenges as well as some advantages of this international nature. I think that one advantage that stands out is, well, I'll give it like a case study. So we have a community project that we're working on, which is basically addressing human trafficking in Nigeria. And what happened was that some local journalists in Nigeria knew that it was an issue just from their experience, and the data backs it up. There's it ranks 81st in the percentile, Nigeria, so it's up there. Like, for example, 75% of the women migrants that are entering Italy for sexual exploitation are from a particular city, Benin City in Nigeria. So it is, but they didn't. These journalists couldn't get support on the local level, perhaps because folks didn't want their brands associated with something which is like really traumatic and terrible, but also because to acknowledge it is a problem is sort of reflecting poorly on the government politically, right? So these journalists couldn't get support locally, so they turned to Web3, and they happened to find PeopleDAO. And we are helping them fundraise through an NFT collection. We're using this fundraising to produce a documentary to basically sensitize local communities about how traffickers are sort of manipulating people. So I share this case study because it never would have happened if we didn't have this international aspect of PeopleDAO. If we weren't actively welcoming people from around the world, seeking to engage each other from around the world, you wouldn't get this leveraging of global crypto tech and global crypto communities for a very hyper local issue. So I think that's just like a beautiful connection that came out of it, and that's an advantage. But one of the challenges is, I would say, one is scheduling, of course. It's like no matter what you do, somebody's sort of like left out. So we try and have sort of, we split our serious discussion across 2 different meetings at 2 different times. But also, of course, translation and language. And we, since the beginning, we did translate all of our meetings into Chinese, because those big communities, as I've said, is the English and Chinese. But we also have translated our meeting notes, over the months into Vietnamese, Spanish, Turkish, and also Chinese. And, we're not perfect. This all takes resources, so we do the best we can, and it's also dependent on sort of who's available to translate. But we for sure make a concerted effort to address this challenge of language. Just people speak different languages, and you can't coordinate if you don't have some sort of shared, way of communicating. So maybe that's, I'll let AA talk about maybe the other half of your question. But that's the advantage and disadvantage of the sort of international aspect. And what was the other half of your question? I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember. I just talked a lot.
No, I think in some ways you answered both parts, just in the opposite order. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, AA, do you have anything to add?
I mean, yeah, I think like Matter said, it's really, really decentralized and multicultural, and a lot of things that you did not know before enter this PeopleDAO. A lot of things like the human trafficking in Nigeria. I in my life, I never knew some friends from Nigeria, but PeopleDAO give me a chance to know the people there, and know what's their and any help that we can solve together, and also we also are going to fund a music camp in the tribe of Amazon forest, which is really, really cool. So you just have a lot of different perspective about the words. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm actually dropping a link right now to the Mirror article about the documentary. So if anybody wants to learn more about that, you can just check out the comments under the space today. I mean, this is awesome. Like, so where is could we get an update on the documentary series? I think this is really fascinating.
Yeah, sure. So we started by providing some initial seed funding to the journalists, led by one journalist named Existential Zoomer. That's their Twitter handle, and their name. And they went to Benin City in early June, and from that we have produced a sort of multimedia article in the form of a slide deck, and we also have interviews that we're cobbling together into a sort of preliminary video. So this was to just do some initial groundwork, build some relationships with sources to show that the value of original reporting, to show people that this is an issue. So that's sort of just the first thing I would point out, and I can share the links with you to the article. And then from there, now we are producing and releasing an NFT collection to raise funds for really, the big documentary, right? Like the feature-length documentary. We do have a production team already lined up. They're pretty cool. They have placed video pieces on major streaming platforms like Amazon and Netflix. So it's lined up, and now we're hoping to raise money so that we can employ this awesome team. But so yeah, I'll also say that the NFT collection has been pretty cool to the extent that we've been playing with Midjourney and really leveraging Midjourney, which is an AI application that takes word prompts and turns it into images. And this tech, as we're learning, unlocks a type of participatory community art making that I think you really couldn't do otherwise. Because what we're doing is we sort of did this initial research phase where we researched mythology and cultural symbols local to Nigeria that represent sort of strength and empowerment. And we highlight these terms, and then we say, hey, everybody who wants to participate in this project, use these terms in Midjourney. So you get this churning of image and prompt and people sort of building off of what other people are doing, and which is really cool. And then also it lets a lot of people participate in visual art making when they don't, it's not necessarily their skill set, their background. So I think for those reasons, we've been pretty stoked about using Midjourney, and the end result is that it really reflects a community, and it is that community vision is very much Nigerian led, which is, I think, super important because of the nature of the problem that we're trying to raise awareness about. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at, and then from there we're looking to release open the registration probably in the next 2 weeks. And then from there we really hope folks like the NFTs, they buy the NFTs. 100% of funds raised go to the documentary, as well as a little bit to actually give to survivors in the form of direct aid services. If the documentary is here to prevent human trafficking, we also acknowledge some people don't benefit from prevention if they've been through it. And so we did think it was important to, put a little bit of these funds towards helping the folks that, are sort of on the other side of it already. Yeah, I think that's pretty much where we're at.
That's awesome. I don't know, A, if you wanted to add anything to that, or anything related on the NFT front.
Yeah, I think I think the Web3 is fascinating, and Zoomer is the the Nigeria journalist that's interested in this human trafficking research. So he did fundraising. He tried to fundraising in real life. It did not happen. Nobody interested in that. And also he posted, like, he created like a fundraising at Mirror Protocol. Nobody cares. Nobody cares it. So she did not raise any funds from Mirror Protocol. But then she when the PeopleDAO is having a weekly meeting, and I think she jumped in and introduced this research to us, and we were really fascinated by that. And And then I think Matter did a lot of helped a lot during this process. He tried to bring Zoomer to the core contributors of PeopleDAO, and we hosted a lot of meetings, discuss, how to make this research, this project happen, and then like Matter and Zoomer wrote a proposal to request I think it's 7,000 US dollars. Yeah, like the initial funding to do a small research and do some documentary movie recording of that problem. So they went to the Benin city, like a rural city in the Nigeria, and they spent like a week there, and then Zoomer did the research and recorded some videos. Yeah, and been back, and Matter helped a lot, to produce that report. And another contributor, Alan, from the marketing team, did a lot of movie editing to make the documentary movie. So I think it's still in process, but it's a community work. So a lot of amazing people in the PeopleDAO make this project happen, and we're about to raise some funds. I think it's not a lot, but still significant to continue this project.
Very cool. Well, I would encourage people again to check out EXT Zoomer here on Twitter as well, Existential Zoomer. A tweet from Journey Awa was shared by AA here in the space. Clearly, being able to reach new audiences and to make people feel welcome, having the language dimension, as you both have mentioned, is like really important. And I know that there is a dedicated sub DAO that PeopleDAO has spawned, right? So language DAO. I'd be curious to hear a bit about that from both of you guys.
Yeah, so Language DAO is one of two fully formed sub DAOs of PeopleDAO. And the whole goal really is to address language barriers in Web3. So language barriers, they keep out market participants. For example, when the Bitcoin manifesto, or the original, the research paper, right, by Satoshi was translated into Chinese, there was this huge boom of Chinese adoption of crypto and participation in crypto. So that's just like an example of how it's not until you can really, if something is translated and you can read it and comprehend it, that you then begin to participate in the market. So it's keeping people out of markets, which has issues for everybody who sees the value of DeFi. The beauty of being able to transmit funds across borders like instantaneously for pretty cheap compared to traditional wiring methods, and all of the different financial instruments that get unlocked for normal people who don't otherwise get access to things that banks get access to. So that's why it's important from a sort of equality standpoint to find a way of dealing with language so that everybody can participate in these markets. And from the standpoint of protocols and businesses, there are whole untapped markets here, right? So there's kind of benefit from both sides. And then I'll also say the importance of addressing language barriers is also relevant to innovation. And so if there's no way of communicating, you can't bring in whole, resources of people who have all sorts of new ideas and new skill sets, which could unlock a bunch of new innovation in the space. So that's why we're passionate about it. And what we're doing about it is we first and foremost provide translation services. So you can't just find anybody to translate, crypto marketing, crypto technical papers, governance papers, because so the terms are basically a language in of themselves. So you need people who...
It's true.
Yeah. So you need someone who understands all the crypto terms and also, of course, the other language. So that is the sort of specialized translation we provide. We also do interpretation services, so live translating in Twitter Spaces like this, or maybe a Discord meeting, what have you. And these services, which are purchasable by other DAOs, protocols, etc., then fund a sort of public goods side that we're still fleshing out. But one example of something that we've been playing with is in terms of public goods is we did a promotional campaign. It was OAT, so sort of it's a protocol similar to POAP, but the incentive on the other end was an OAT, and to get to that incentive, to reach that reward, we asked folks to just share what languages they speak. So it turned into market research. And we do have a distribution of different languages that the respondents speak, and we're actually processing the results. Should be out soon. But this is just an example of we piloting something that maybe we could bring to other communities and let communities get some insight into, okay, what languages do people speak here, and therefore, are there any gaps basically in the messaging and making sure everything is accessible? So that's just one example, but we do love public goods, and we do want to produce public goods as a part of what we do, not simply just be a business for translation. So yeah, that's Language DAO.
Very cool. And I want to give just while we're on the subject of multiple languages, Rohek, in the audience here, Ike Benitez, the man here across many different DAOs. He is the one actually who connected us today. And, Rohek, you need to follow him. If you're hearing if you're listening to the show, you should follow Rohek. I want to say my thank you for that. And also, I know that it wouldn't be possible without some of these resources in a community that feels open, sharing different things in different languages. Let's say, for example, somebody may be listening to this show and they're interested in getting involved in something like Language DAO because they have a specific skill set. Maybe they speak a couple different languages. What's the best way for somebody to get involved?
I mean, they can just hop into the Language DAO Discord and say hello. And we have sort of designated moderators for different languages who can sort of provide some guidance around, how do you use the work? How do you look out for bounties? I will also say that just as important as translators is marketing people and business development people. And in some respects, we actually almost need those people more to get the message out because we have translators who are ready to go. So I will say that there's a lot of room for different skill sets here. And yeah, just hop into the Discord. That's definitely the way to participate.
Cool. Well, I got to ask here. So AA, I imagine you have been an important bridge between, different language speaking communities. Is that more or less the case?
Basically, I speak Chinese and English, so I try to bridge between English speaker and Chinese speaker. Yeah, and the language is really, really important. Without the language, the translation, we cannot understand each other. So yeah.
Very cool. Well, again, folks, if you want to take a look at here, it's people-dao.com is the website, and the Language DAO is just languagedao.com. And last but certainly not least, I did want to make sure I touched on the Panda DAO as well. Now, this is a different flavor from some of the other stuff we've been talking about so far today. But what are the origins of Panda DAO and some of the stuff you think people should know about it?
Hey, you want to talk about Panda DAO?
Yeah. So Panda DAO is initiated by a core contributors of PeopleDAO. So he's I think Panda was be with us from the beginning, and as our Genesis proposal, we stated that PeopleDAO is a meta DAO. We want to create different sub DAOs and sub projects for the people as the members wish. So, and Panda he wanted to do it was like a decentralized media aggregation platform. So basically, you can on the PandaDAO, like Panda Media platform, it aggregates a lot of like Twitter information, and also different from like the Twitter itself is it allows some auditors to to rate each Twitter. So so the people that after the rating, the viewers can see if a Twitter is trustworthy or it is a scam. So there is a rating for each Twitter, and also if you collect like a use each tweet's rating for a user, then you know whether a Twitter account KOL is trustworthy or not. So it helps people to get more information because now there are a lot of tweets and you need to know you need to tell what is legit and what is scam. So it helps a lot. And because it takes a lot of time to develop this product, and they keep developing. And at the meantime, they also developed a very, very cute NFT in the theme of panda. So it's called Random Panda Club. I think they just reviewed the NFTs today. So yeah, and it's they gave like a bunch of like 50 NFT for free to PeopleDAO contributor, which is great. So we are building this ecosystem together, and just support each other.
All right, fellas, I don't know if you can hear me. I had a little sound issue there. I heard you on the tail end there. Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, cool. So PandaDAO, the last part I heard there was that they did have an NFT mint of some kind. And I'm on their Twitter right now. Is this the partnership with the Pass? Or is this, am I looking at the wrong thing? Okay, nope. I want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing.
Yeah, it's a Random Panda Club. So they issued a NFT collection. They created a new ERC 721 standard called ERC 721P. In that NFT standard, you like before, you pay some ETH to mint an NFT, and the creators, the project takes the ETH, and most oftenly they rug pull, they disappear. But for these standards, if you pay like the Panda token or you pay the ETH, those tokens are locked into the NFT contract. So if you say, I don't want it, I want my money back, then you can interact with the smart contract to burn this NFT and get your tokens back. And it's you can do it whenever you want. So there is no expiration. There is no expired time for it. So I think that's very, very great innovation. It keeps the funds of the customers safe. Yeah, and the the ERC 721P also have more features, like it provides some liquidity for the NFT. So we also solves a major problem of the NFT market. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah, to add on top of that, there's also this feature where so if you don't like your NFT, you can exchange it back for I think if you exchange it, right? You don't necessarily burn it, because then it goes back into this pool where people can activate it's called the reborn function. So basically, if you like the having a random panda club NFT, but you don't like the particular one you got, the way it looks, you can use the reborn function and access the NFTs in the protocol's pool, right? So you can then pull out another random NFT. You can even repeat it, as many times as you want, so you get the one that you like. But that's a pretty cool capability of the 721 P. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They have this like a lottery function, so you can see. I don't like this picture. I don't like these features. Say like let's do a lottery, then you can boom, click that lottery, and you transfer your NFT to the lottery, and the lottery gives you back another NFT inside that lottery. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I like that feature. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that it's pretty innovative. They're definitely innovating in the NFT space, and they do have dreams of integrating other projects. So be it Bored Apes or Punks, and bringing this tech to those projects too. So yeah, definitely cool.
Very neat. Yeah, I'd love to hear just a little bit more specifically about the liquidity side of things. I think that I heard AA mention that. So what is it about this specific token standard that lends itself to liquidity or the like?
Yeah. So like because your tokens are locked into that NFT, so it has intrinsic value. Like for example, if I have like my NFT, there is like one is staked in that liquidity into that NFT. So this NFT will not worth less than one is. Because when I trade this NFT, the buyers can get one is from this NFT. So it has intrinsic value, and this creates the liquidity for the NFT.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I have a buddy who does a bi-weekly show for One Hive, and he's a developer, and he's innovated a lot in the NFT space. And I'd like to segue into soulbound tokens in just a moment, because he's done some work in that as well. But one of the things we were experimenting with earlier this year for like contributors in a DAO, for example, was the issuance of an NFT that would stream tokens, or that would be entitled to a stream of tokens. So whether that was project tokens, or whether it was some type of stable coin. I'm hugely bullish on like NFT innovation. It seems like there's so much utility that's going to be explored around that tech, aside from just the profile pictures, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. There are too many profile picture NFTs, in this space. We need more. We need different stuff.
No, I totally agree. And with that in mind, I'd love to hear the breakdown on your soulbound token experiment. What is this all about, AA? I saw it on the snapshot.
Yeah. So Soulbound is a non-transferable, non-tradable NFT, invented by inspired by Vitalik, the founder of Ethereum. So we really love that idea. I think I love it, Meta love it, and a lot of members from PeopleDAO love it. It's because first it's not about money. So finance is important, but there are a lot of the Web3 can bring other than finance. So so now a lot of talk about to like the is like when is rise again. But if you're for this if some coins are some tokens are non-tradable, non-transferable, nobody going to talk about the price of it. They just care about the utility of it. So what can the Soulbound token do? For example, if a like for example, language style. They want to find like translators with different language, and they need know there's like the skill. Are they translating the language with high quality? So how do you know that? So they can do like a language test, and if people passed that test, they can issue a soulbound token like for Spanish to that member, and with that soulbound token, people will know that it can act like a language certificate, and if people um, watch your wallet and check that you have this certificate on chain, they will know that you are very very good Spanish speaker, so you can do this job. Yeah, so I think soulbound token have a lot of utilities.
Yeah, totally. I don't know if you want to speak a bit to soulbound tokens matter. Have any strong feelings? There is obviously there are interesting arguments on either side of the soulbound tech, I guess.
Yeah, I think so some other applications we've thought of is well, you've talked about optimism a lot earlier on in the in this show. So I know you're a fan. I know folks here are probably a fan, and they have a governance system which is bicameral, which is to say they have two houses, and one house being for tokens, where the amount of power you have is relative to the amount of tokens you have. The other house is citizens' house, and your power, so to speak, comes from this soulbound NFT, which is one person, one vote. So that's just so we're thinking about solutions for governance where soulbound tokens can be valuable, and of course these people are vetted by the community and are identified to be arbiters of the values of the interests of the community. And so this is, I think, a type of it's a governance model that soulbound tokens can enable. And then let's see, what's another one? Oh yeah, Sybil resistance. I think Sybil resistance is another application where a soulbound token could be used to flag someone as, either a bot or a malicious actor, or on the other end could be used to flag someone as, hey, this is a real human. They're a deserving human to the extent that they maybe contribute a lot to a particular project, and so are all the more deserving of airdrops, other benefits. It's just an example of another application. Hey, do you want to augment or anything I said?
Yeah, I really love this idea that Optimism governance, they used two house, one for like one token, one vote, and the other house is one people, one vote. So it's fascinating. And for PeopleDAO, we're in the PeopleDAO season 2. So one of our general goal is to upgrade our governance system. So for now, we solely our governance is solely based on the people token. So it's one token, one vote. But we are like transferring to to the medium, between one people, one vote, and one token, one vote. So we're going that in that direction. So yeah, I think soulbound token can can really help to identify, if we identify that a person with unique identity, we can issue him a soulbound token, and then it proves that that member is unique and he's involved in the in the development of PeopleDAO. So I think that definitely helps to upgrade our governance system. But a problem is, how do we identify that a person is unique? That is a very very hard problem in the blockchain.
Yeah, another criticism of soulbound NFTs is that it creates a situation where, you know, it's the blockchain, so people can send each other things, and there's a possibility that someone does send you a soulbound NFT that doesn't represent you, and it sort of stands as almost like a tattoo, but like a tattoo you don't want that someone gave to you without your consent. So there's that criticism. But at least in the case of our project, maybe you can elaborate from a more technical standpoint. There's this option to start to basically burn it, right? You can't transfer it, but you can take it off you, right?
Yeah, exactly. We created like a standard called ERC 721S as for soulbound. So that's a new standard, and you cannot transfer that token normally. But you know, if somebody sends you a soulbound token that you don't like, you know, you can burn it. So there is a burn function. You can transfer it to the zero address and burn it. So yeah, that solves this problem.
I mean,
It always seemed like the way to do it. Go ahead, Matter.
No, I was just going to say, obviously there are nuances here, you know, and we're still developing the project and still figuring out those nuances, how to work around it. Meaning, you know, I'm speaking abstractly, but what I mean is, you know, you wouldn't want the ability to burn the NFT that says you're malicious, right? Like we don't. People should sort of that should sort of stick. So I guess we have to figure it out exactly how it works. I know there's an application in the uh, in the paper by Pooja and Glenn and Vitalik about how soulbound NFTs could signify basically how many loans a person has taken out, and so like you wouldn't want the function to be able to burn that because you want other lenders to be able to see that person does have you know, debt. So I think there's nuances because there could be like specific channels whereby only those lenders can see that information, right? It's a sort of, you have a soulbound token, but it only means something in, you know, in that context. So I think there are nuances. I think zero knowledge proofs is a tech that Vitalik has written about, can help sort of mitigate some of these sort of, I guess, basically privacy issues and just navigating these nuances of, okay, we want the soulbound to sort of signify something in one context, but then also the best we can to respect, you know, other contexts.
Right. Yeah, or at least allowing some type of opt-in,
Yeah,
you know, framework for these types of things.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for those who are here on the call, this is a little bit of alpha here. The this TV project we're working on, it runs shows such as the one we got going on right now. You know, we're thinking about launching a token that would be a part of a game, and the game really revolves around NFTs that are soulbound, that are required to sort of level up within the game itself. So I think it's soulbound tokens will be really interesting to see their different applications and parameters, given the context, obviously, that they're issued in. But I'm excited. I mean, you guys got so much going on here. I want to give a final plug here, make sure people know where to find you at _PeopleDAO. We talked about Panda DAO, Language DAO. We have the support for traffic in Nigeria. Is there anything else that you guys want to share that's coming up in the near future, or things coming out of PeopleDAO you're excited about?
We said a lot here. Maybe A has something else to add. I'll share one thing, and that's something that we just started talking about, and that's like a week ago, and that's, so we're approaching a year old. Like here we are, many months later, and we're starting to approach that week when Constitution DAO, you know, became a thing and gathered a lot of attention and energy. So super preliminary. Like we just passed this around as an idea, but doing something. I don't know, something to celebrate, something to bring us together and sort of commemorate that effort and just how far we've come. So that'll be in November, but a couple months from now. I hope anybody who was a part of Constitution DAO gets stoked by that idea too, because it'll be a year since. So
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I really looking forward for that. Yeah, I think Constitution DAO changed a lot of people's perspective about the crypto, and let normal people get into this space. So we will celebrate that. We celebrate Constitution DAO. We celebrate PeopleDAO and the whole people ecosystem. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure having both you guys on here today. We'll have to do it again sometime in the near future. And anytime you guys got updates going on any way that OneHive is a big project, a lot of different people that have come in and out over the last 2 years or so, and all of them do share, I think, a common DNA, which is a acute interest in public goods and digital public goods. So whenever there's an opportunity to support it, I think that people in and around OneHive will always jump at that opportunity. So GM to both of you and everybody who joined us in the space, they appreciate all of you. Hope you had a good time. Feel free to leave a comment again in the section below, and we'll be seeing everybody soon. Have an excellent rest of your week, everybody.
yeah, thanks so much to UT and to the whole community. Truly.
Thanks, Klaus. Thanks, Rohit. Really had a great night, and thanks, Matter, for participate this great show with me. I really enjoyed tonight. Thank you.
Yes, same. See you.
All right. Cheers, everybody. GMAA, Matter, Rohek. Take care, everybody.
GM, bye-bye.